Peaky Blinders is some of the best TV to come out of the UK in the past decade, and one of my favourite shows of all time. I think the writing is engaging, the acting is second to none, and the cinematography, especially in later seasons, is an absolute pleasure to experience. Peaky Blinders Mastermind isn't that. Okay, so in this video I'm thinking I want to be a little less scripted and a bit more relaxed, and figured this would be the perfect game for that. I'm sure this game will relax me and won't make me want my entire existence to be over forever. Peaky Blinders Mastermind is a game published by Curve Games, formerly Curve Digital, formerly Curve Studios. I wonder if they've made up their mind now or if they'll rebrand as Curve Media or something next year. They've developed some of their own titles over the years, such as the hit games Fluidity, Explodamon, and Stealth Bastard, Tactical Espionage Arsehole. Amazing. Further reading, building a British Ubisoft, I bloody well hope not. Mostly they publish games nowadays rather than develop, so they alone are not completely responsible for the crimes against humanity you're about to experience. Explore the groundbreaking worlds created by our industry-leading developer partners. That's a bold claim, Curve Digital Game Studios, but alright, let's see what other industry-leading games you have to offer us. Narcos, Rise of the Cartels. I mean, that was definitely a game that came out.
He's gonna die.
What the fuck?
Get
what?
out of there!
It's my turn! It's my turn!
Ah, here we are. Peaky Blinders Mastermind. Me when they ruin my IP. So Future Lab are the developers to blame for this, huh? Become the mastermind as you control key characters and pull off perfectly synchronized plans. Okay, I look forward to becoming the mastermind. Lad Bible, you know, the leading voice in games journalism, says it's easy to get caught up in expectations, but if you approach the game with an open mind, it's sure to impress. I shan't lie, that doesn't fill me to the brim with optimism, but, well, let's see what the comments have to say about it. One comment from Gina, good. Thank you for that, Gina, very insightful. I may be taking the piss here, but I will say Future Lab genuinely seems like a really nice company to work for. They advocate against industry crunch, which is far too prevalent in the games industry these days, and they care about the well-being of their employees, so genuinely good on you for that. If only they cared for the well-being of the audience who play their games. On that note, let me stop yapping and let's get into the game, shall we? Here they are. Look at them, all the boys, well, and women. I picked this up on sale a year ago for like £2, so I'm sure it's just a really good deal and the game's value itself is actually priceless. Upon starting the game, we're greeted by a pretty cool 3D title screen with shattered glass, so that's something, I guess. The theme that plays here at the title screen is somewhat of a banger. It kind of goes hard as hell. In fact, I thought this was actually really good, so I looked into who did the music for this game, and it turns out it was the same band who did lots of the music for the TV series, which is genuinely awesome that they got them back. I was suspicious as to why this was this good, and it really is perfect for the game. They know exactly how to capture the right sound for Peaky Blinders. This one song at the beginning, however, lulls you into this false sense of security with the game, because unfortunately, then you have to start playing it. I thought it best to first dive into the instructions to see what they have to offer. Overview. In Peaky Blinders Mastermind, you take control of the Shelby clan in their Small Heath territory, as they race against time to uncover a sinister plot to put them out of business, permanently. I skipped past the controls, figuring I'll work those out by myself eventually. There's a controlling time mechanic in the game, where you have the ability to skim across and control the timeline, so it's like you're Loki out of the Loki Disney Plus series, streaming now on Disney Plus. You also have an Assassin's Creed Chronicles type mission design with a target time limit reward system thing. Oh look, there's synchronization as well, just like AC. Objectives, I felt like they should tell me this in-game, so I didn't worry about that, and took a look at the settings. Difficulty, standard or hard. Gameplay settings, well, there's one singular setting to display the tutorial messages or not, and audio settings for music and sound effects, so that's not a lot of settings. No performance RT mode in this game, just raw, peaky performance. Hitting play, you see there's 10 missions overall, so I figured it can't take too long to beat the game then, right? Mission 1. The story begins with our main cast of characters gathered discussing the Shelby brothers' return from France, the game being set just before the events of the first TV series in 1919. Arthur thinks it's best to have a party to celebrate, more so to let everyone know the men are back and running shop again, because, you know, this was back in the day where men did everything. Well, except when they went off to war and the women proved they had the ability to do it too, but don't worry about that. Beer, however, isn't good enough for this party, according to Tommy, and champagne is what their guests deserve. Ada's also here now too, I guess. However, the blinders lack the funds to buy the champagne, so Tommy, being the criminal mastermind he is, decides to liberate off their rivals. The Gilroys won't mind donating some of their champagne to a good cause. They're patriots. That's a really good way of validating stealing from someone, just being like, nah, they're patriots, it's fine. John, get Finn to start spreading the word. 7 o'clock shut. Wait, where's John? John's not in. Is he in this scene? Actually, I think he was in the last picture. The thing is, he's not in this one, so it doesn't really work when you do this with cutscenes or whatever these are. It's fine, whatever. Basically, the first level, we're stealing champagne. Loading into the game, the first thing I noticed was, yep, these are definitely graphics. The controls were a bit rough at first, but to be honest, by the end of the game, they were the least of my worries. Ada tells us Finn holds the keys to the side door, which we need to get out of the house. For some reason, the door can't be unlocked from the inside, which made me wonder, is this set, like, literally immediately after they got back from the war? Like, Tommy doesn't even know who has the keys to the house. How long have they been back? Like a day? Did they just throw on some suits and then the game began? I did want to explore upstairs, but the game was like, nope. What, you thought you'd be able to explore the whole house? I mean, this is a pretty good likeness of the house as it appears in the show, so that's, I mean, that's the bare minimum really, but it's something. The cloth physics on Tommy's coat aren't terrible either, I've seen worse, so maybe the game won't be too bad. I gaslit myself into thinking. The Peaky blinders can find pocket watches hidden in each level, collect all of them and finish within the gold time to perfect the level. Spoiler alert, I didn't do that. Getting the key from Finn, you learn each character can only carry one item in their inventory. I don't know why Tommy can't carry more than a key in his pocket. Looking at the size of the collectible pocket watches might factor into things though, given they're fucking massive if he's got to watch the size of an actual wall clock in the other room tucked under his coat. Heading outside, things are actually more immersive. You've got kids running around, a dog, a pile of leaves which we can't cross over, so it seems Thomas Shelby has already met his match. And Jeremiah, he's preaching. Well, not actually, because no one is saying anything. There's no voice acting in this game at all, just ambient noise, so that leaves a little to be desired. We head inside a pub where the barkeep pours us a drink, and I love how there's not even a half-assed animation, but I'm sure the effort was put into other areas of the game. We just haven't seen them yet. It does seem strange that they couldn't manage to program in multiple layers to buildings, or building interiors being like seamlessly connected to the outside streets. How is that even something you're able to avoid doing with Xbox One or PS4? But hey, I'm not a game dev, so well, what do I know? We asked someone to get past the security door operated with a comically large lever mounted on the wall here, but maybe they made them that big in 1919 and the game's just actually really historically accurate. After a bit of rooftop gaming, we head back inside where the guard doesn't hear me descending this ladder at all, somehow. Quiet as a mouse is our Tommy Shelby. We're then introduced to the persuasion mechanic, where random ass people in the most obscure places will assist Tommy, but only for a certain amount of time for some reason. You then have to rewind time after playing as them to switch characters and carry on as Tommy, which is such a fucking weird game mechanic. I mean, it's unique. It's really good, actually. Ada then gets introduced to us with her ability to being able to distract people, turning the game into an epic stealth adventure. You then get a guy behind a fence to fetch some keys from behind him. Not sure why Tommy would know the keys are there, and in fact, why are the keys just on a random barrel here? Why aren't I, like, pickpocketing them off someone? You never cease to amaze me, Ada. Yeah, as you talk to someone. Truly amazing. We finally reach the warehouse holding the champagne, left out in open boxes of course, and we take it to the van. I'm assuming Tommy is carrying each bottle under his coat along with his one key and giant Alice in Wonderland pocket watch. The guards prove themselves to have the worst peripheral vision and hearing known to man. That might be why we're just stomping around the warehouse so blasé. Ada approaching someone from that angle and forcing them to turn their back on where they were just looking isn't suspicious at all either for some reason. Just 3 bottles of champagne, that's all we need for a party. I did wonder if this heist was really worth it. I feel given our reputation we could have just gone into any bar and asked for 3 bottles and we would have been given them, but see, this is the learning curve to the game. Upon finishing the mission, you are then immediately and abruptly met with a cutscene, if you can call them that, where you're introduced to Scout, whom I didn't remember from the show, so I assumed he died or betrayed us by the end of the game. I also wasn't sure if his name was Scout or he was just labelled as like an unnamed scout for the Peaky blinders, to be honest though. Tommy and Polly make a few comments somewhat expanding upon the time between the end of the war and Series 1. I can only imagine how much more touching this heart-to-heart would have been if there weren't overly loud music playing over each cutscene and we had more than one still frame to look at. Mission 2. The next mission has us deal with a retaliation from the Gilroys, as we're told they've stolen our own booze, to which Tommy can look less interested in the fact. Tommy and Ada head down to the lockup to investigate, and we're introduced to one-way doors. Certain doors can only be opened from one direction. Approach a door from the correct direction and hold X to open the door. Yeah, okay, you're telling me how to open a door. I think I can handle this as a seasoned gamer. Here, I was already feeling the process of switch to character, stand by door, wait out holding the door open, then switch back to the other character and have them walk through it was getting tedious already, and we're only on mission 2. I also noticed the ramp next to the garrison was far too close for the actual pub. I don't remember it being that close in this show. Now, with Ada, unlike the first mission where the AI controlled her, when you get to control her, you have to hold down the button to distract, then switch back to Tommy, rewind time, and then play as him. Why not just let me send people over to the guards to distract them? This takes so long and Tommy just stands there like a dolt now while you do everything. Finn's also here, just kind of standing around warehouses as a 10-year-old boy does. I guess they didn't have Xbox back in 1990, to be fair. Finn's special ability is to crawl through holes in walls and fences like this one. I mean, it's big enough for Tommy to get through, but only Finn possesses this special power. The AI here lets Finn hold open the door for me, but I can't do it with Ada and Tommy. Yeah, whatever. This is followed by moving around crates and warehouse. Absolutely riveting gameplay. You then find a note. Of course you can't pick up the note and read it, that would be too much content for this game. Another giant pocket watch on the floor here. I also like how with the one-way doors they paint big red arrows on them. That's what I personally do with doors when they're one-way. Ada will have better luck getting the information I need. Oh Jesus Christ, I have to go back. No, this is a really good game, I'm enjoying it. NPCs in this game function similarly to ghosts, having us phase through them with like no AI to walk around us or collision to even like jankily slide us out of the way. Toby presents turpentine oil. Never heard about that. I wonder if they still use it today. We proceed to inquire about our stolen booze, even though, hang on, we stole it off them though, so they just stole some back. That seems kind of fair, doesn't it? They didn't even kill anyone or anything. I suppose we only took 3 bottles and they allegedly took a truckload, but I don't know. I don't know why I'm trying to dissect the narrative here. Breaking into their warehouse now, we get Ada to help us pass. You'd think this dude would be more shocked if a woman just popped up behind him who he didn't know was there, but no. Finn then starts making moves on his own, which isn't how the game has taught me how to play the game so far, so I don't know why I'm either not controlling both of them here or neither. Finn can walk past by himself, but Tommy, our mastermind, just stands there with no concept of what's happening around him. I truly don't know what the NPC guards are even hired here for. Does this guy just not care about random women wandering around his warehouse? That's a tongue twist. I do like Tommy's idle animation where he takes out his pocket watch and has a look at it. It's like he's slowly developing sentience and questioning why this is taking so long. Sorry Tom, the game devs just made it this way. At least we got all the pocket watches in this level. I feel an overwhelming sense of accomplishment. Tommy, the warehouse is on fire. Don't worry about that, Ada. Just a little reminder not to mess with the Peaky blinders. They stole back from what you stole off them. They're only doing what you did first. Unknown. Left.
It's the end of.
The streets are coming undone, Jimmy. That's what I say to my mate Jimmy all the time. What a cliffhanger. If only I was 48 seconds quicker, I could have got silver. I don't care, really. Mission 3. In this level, you get to pet a dog, so 10 out of 10. That's how you know the game's good now. So at this point in the story, one of the Chinese is dead, and we think Scout did it whilst he was high on opium. I think these two are also high on opium. They're just staring at laundry. Now we do get to play as Finn, and isn't it great how Finn is like a 10-year-old boy in Series 1, and then by Series 2, set just 2 or 3 years later, he's literally a 19-year-old man. I mean, I'm capable of suspending my belief when it comes to casting. I just mean it was confusing. I thought he was a different character at first. Here, you're introduced to Finn Gaps. Get it? Like thin gaps? Was that the pun they were going for, or did I just make that up? But regardless, I already know he can fit through gaps, because that was in the last level. After trial and error, I slowly began to get the hang of moving characters all at once here, and you might say I'm beginning to master it. I am the mastermind. You can tell we're in a Chinese warehouse now, because there's Chinese banners on the walls. I'm sure that's what all Chinese people definitely do at the office where they work. This dude is fucking stomping around here, bro is mad as hell. I won't say the enemy layout in these levels is completely watertight, I can't lie. Not sure how he didn't see me, but we won't question that. Yes, just ignore this cart I'm dragging in front of you. Nothing being obscured here. They've got Scout's cap, and it looks like they're planning a retaliation. We need to get back and warn the others. Come on. Mission 4. So now we've learned that the Chinese are planning a retaliation because Scout killed one of them or something. We're told about time limits in level 4 for some reason. Like, I've already figured that out, but thanks. And we're tasked with getting Scout out of Birmingham by canal tonight. We meet Jerty. Is that even a name? Jerty Bartholomew. I am indeed Jerty Bartholomew III. Oh, okay. Well, we get to play as Arthur here, who walks quite accurately to how the actor portrays him in the show. Didn't Paul Anderson get fined recently for possessing cocaine? And his lawyer was like, he just likes to get into character around fans or something, which isn't an excuse for a crime. You can't just say, but Your Honour, he was committed to the bit. Anyway, Arthur has his epic, iconic door kick ability, which he definitely had in the show, and demonstrations of which occurred multiple times. After entering through the door you just kicked in, nobody cares. Arthur and John also have the ability to brawl some thugs. Not all thugs, but some. Truly an epic showdown for the ages. Pairs of enemies. If two thugs are close together, they need to be taken down simultaneously or the Peaky Blinders will fail. Simultaneously is spelled wrong. It's also the same animation every time. Well, maybe John has a different fighting style or something. Brawling. John and Arthur can brawl something. Yeah, I know, you just told me this already. Yeah, it is the same animation even with John. Flammable barriers. John Shelby can use oil lanterns to burn down barriers that block your path. Why John in particular? It's not like that was his thing in the show that he did. Well, there you go. That sure is flammable, alright. Or is it inflammable? You ever thought about how there's the same word? After stealthing my way into the building with what I can only assume to be the world's smallest train and sneaking past the world's stupidest guard, we obtain the yard key. There's also 6 pocket watches to pick up in this level. I'm really glad there's multiple. Just 1 or 2 per level wouldn't have been enough to pad the game. I mean, fill the game with meaningful timepiece content. Good to see you, Arthur. The lads are just ahead in the pub. I did think these guys were going to move, but I just phased through them, as you do. With that mission done, we successfully defend ourselves for the oncoming attack by the Chinese, but our Boy Scout is taken by the police. Oh no. Mission 5. With our Boy Scout imprisoned, the 3 Shelby brothers mount a rescue mission. And what's been missing from this game, I hear you ask? Well, a sewer level, of course. They truly are the epitome of level design. You can't have a good game without a sewer level. Thankfully, we're not down here too long after solving some puzzles with the most inconveniently placed levers down in the sewer. Is this what sewers like in Birmingham? I've never been in one, so I don't know, maybe they are. At this point I was wondering if the gameplay here might have actually benefited from being co-op instead. Sadly you don't get to share this experience with your friends. They wouldn't be my friends after I make them play this. Other than the doors, there's also a barricade down here you need to burn down, because of course there is, and a policeman you need to slip past, because of course there is. Don't worry though, there's also an officer up on street level walking in circles, slowly losing his mind. I know how that feels. I did have to journey back down into the sewer, however, because of course Arthur can't throw a lantern on the floor. Only John has the ability to perform such a feat. After wandering around the level for like 7 minutes, I realised I missed a door. My fault on that one. And you send a guy clearly not in uniform back here to retrieve the cell key. To actually break Scout out of his cell, you need to distract a guard by turning the heating up. And you might be wondering why Tommy can't just turn the valve here himself. And that's because he's obviously too busy being the mastermind, you fucking idiot. We have to retrace our steps with John because only he can do it. Anyway, here we are, Scout. I bet you can taste freedom in the air. Oh, he's dead. Well, that's why we don't know him in Series 1. You do get Tommy having an epic flashback to the trenches, though, where the music just doesn't fit the scene at all. And then the mission ends. But hey, we get this one still frame, and it gives us a lot more insight into Tommy's PTSD, so that was really cool. Mission 6. The next mission has the family come to terms with Scout's murder, each dealing with it in different ways. I mean, he was in my personal top 5 favourite Peaky Blinders characters, so I understand how hard it must be for all of them. The short amount of screen time he did have was truly special. Arthur here tries his classic I'm the head of the family display, which is at least in keeping with continuity of Arthur being like delusional, think he's in charge of the family because he's the oldest brother. Hang on, who's this now? Tommy's metamorphized into... oh, it's Talbot. So basically Talbot gives us some time as Arthur to snoop around Chinese headquarters whilst he brings them in for questioning. He says we'll have half an hour, but then we only get 15 minutes, so I don't know. You make that make sense. You do get to explore the inside of the garrison, so that's pretty cool. These guys are fighting. Not very well, but they are. Now we're beating up Gilroy's men, harassing the locals. They're not actually doing anything to them though. You just have these people cowering in fear with the Gilroys like not even facing them. I also like how the whole of the gang is wearing green. They remind me of the Blighters from Assassin's Creed Syndicate. So that's great. How did Finn even get here? He's just in the corner of an alley. I will give them this though. Their detection system actually works, which is far more that can be said for other games where enemies just detect you through walls, so at least they nailed that. The more I play, the more baffled I become. I mean, why would the doors in someone's house work like this, dude? This is so bizarrely inconvenient for whoever lives here. Of course, the Chinese end up capturing us, claiming they didn't kill Scout. They also don't kill Arthur and John, even though they should, because reasons. Mission 7. The next mission has Tommy, Ada and Polly head to the docks to question a witness, because if sewer missions weren't stereotypical enough for uncreative level design, we need a bloody mission down at the docks. Polly has the same capabilities as Ada, other than she can bribe guards to permanently stop their vision cones, as opposed to Ada just temporarily disabling them. Approach a dirty, drunk-looking copper and use X to bribe them. They don't actually mean anything by that, by the way. All the coppers in the game look exactly the same. Polly can also lockpick any door or gate with, well, a lock. Both of these are considered illegal actions, so you can't let anyone else see you do them. I'm sure that won't be immensely frustrating as the game goes on. Talking of frustrating, if you have to talk to another character, but later have to rewind time, because, you know, that's like the whole premise of the game, you have to sit through all the dialogue again, sometimes multiple times. Yay! It's exactly the same dialogue too, no matter which character you choose to have talk to them as you're playing. Terry's my boss, he got me this job. Yeah, thanks for that information, mate. That's how bosses work. Mission 8. Tommy awakens with a hangover the next morning and we go to leave the house. Now, credit where credit's due, he does have this different walking animation for this mission where he's hungover and there's like this haze which is covering the edges of the screen. I'm aware I sound like a girl whose expectations are so low that when her boyfriend buys her flowers she sees it as some huge display for doing the bare minimum, but like, I'm losing my sanity at this point, guys, okay? As you continue, you realise Tommy's having a vision where he's back in the trenches, and truth be told, I wasn't expecting a dream sequence, so the idea of it is actually good. You have your comrade's body surrounding him as he's stuck in like a maze of his own mind trying to escape the terrors of the trenches. The actual execution of it, however, is Germans charging at you from down the tunnels and you have to avoid their vision cones. I also always collect pocket watches in my dreams. You then come across this guy, and brother, help me, I need to get out of here. Once you finally get out, you're snapped out of your vision by Oliver Dugmore. I'd bet he dug more if he was in the trenches. He warns us to leave the cemetery since a police funeral is taking place, so then we have to stealth our way through the level where we approach freshly dug graves and go into them, and then we're back in the trenches vision. So is he having a vision, or is this actually happening? Like, is he going through tunnels under the graveyard? He comes out at a different spot after the sections in the trenches. This just doesn't make any sense. And why are there just random people standing around in the graveyard waiting to help Tommy? I managed to finally scrape past the funeral procession and escape the graveyard, entering the final trenches section where this text box was permanently glitched above my head, so that wasn't really annoying at all, before meeting with Finn and ending the mission. Mission 9. The penultimate level of the game has us follow up on what we overheard in the graveyard between Talbot and the medical examiner Tasker, who Talbot's making rewrite Scout's autopsy reports. You get to play as the whole gang here, minus John, who's a bit stirred up because of all this. Why'd they take Scout's stuff? Why'd they take his clothes? Just a smokescreen, John. They're probably in the Grand Union Canal along with his pocket watch. Well, thankfully we've picked up like 27 pocket watches, so we're not short on any of those. Now, these last two missions alone took me the good second half of the total play time I played this game for, and I'm not joking. They took me like an hour and a half each. I don't even know how I managed to drag them out for so long. You have to do so much in this mission, it's exhausting. Finn also gets to pickpocket now, so there's pickpocketing in the game. Why not utilise that mechanic then? If it's already in the game, use it to diversify from asking random people to pick up keys for us all the time. Because you got like 5 people to handle all doing different things in this level, you're constantly having Finn spotted or they ran out of time pop up on your screen. After about 15 attempts, I only just about managed to have Finn scrape past Talbot's vision cone just by like the skin of his teeth, and you don't get a rewarding sense of relief after getting past this stuff either. You get like a thank god I've finally done that at least, before you then have to rewind and reorganise anyway because some other character has fucked up something else. I found it funny how at one point I went the wrong way as Finn, only to find out the street here just ends at some houses, as if everyone here is trapped in some kind of like unescapable hell, me included. I finally reached the next task by what must have been like half a second because the timer technically ran out, but maybe the gods were being kind to me at this point in my evening. Wow, that invisible object looks really heavy. There's not a great deal more to comment on in this level other than it just took forever. Somehow Finn knows this copper has spice on him, and only he can use the spice on the horse to make it block the street. Why are there so many things only specific characters can do, despite literally any of them realistically being able to do them? I finished this mission by like 3 seconds, just thinking, thank god it was finally over, though not quite over just yet. Mission 10. In the final mission, you make your stand against Talbot. Phone boxes are placed here to distract enemies, another mechanic introduced really late into the game. There are very strangely placed levers and enemy guards who I can see have enough space between them to pass through, especially as I'm a little boy at this point, but of course I can't. This was also when my headache really started to set in, and that's how I can tell I'm just playing a horrible game. I can easily play a good game for like 8 hours and I'll only stop because my eyes literally feel tired from staring at the screen so long, so I'm like forced to drag myself away from it. But God, the pain here was literally like manifesting itself physically. My body was telling me in every way to remove myself from the experience, but I'd come so far and sacrificed simply too much. The camera then glitched to what I later learnt to be a portion of the level I wasn't at yet, so I was a tad confused as to where any of my characters were. In retrospect, I should have seen this at the time for what it was, a warning of more to come. Eventually you meet up with the Chinese boss, convince him we're not their enemies, and then it's a not so quick escort mission back to the garrison where the level doesn't end. I finished this section again with a single second to spare. How you're meant to complete this game within the golden time limit is beyond me, but I'm sure when I die and go to hell, that'll be the task they have me try and fail to perform for all eternity. The following area is where you get the Chinese boss out of town by the canal, but it's crawling with policemen, so you have to deal with all of that. These two are just standing in a warehouse, because of course, and this guy has no awareness of a child running past him. The level, and thankfully the game, ends with you finally reaching Talbot and getting him arrested for his crimes, but not before you take his pocket watch, because we didn't have enough, so we needed this one. And then you tell John to give it to Scout's mum as something to remember him by, and the game abruptly ends. Not that I hadn't been praying for that to happen at this point, but I sat there thinking, my God, that was the worst 6 hours of my life. Hang on, what do you mean cast Cillian Murphy? He wasn't in the game. 2020 copyright Future Lab. Thanks for that, Future Lab. I'll tell you one thing though. This was by far the worst thing to come out of the year 2020. Oh no, there's another game. Oh, it's on VR, which I don't own, thank God. I have a reason not to play that one, for now.